Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind Podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 288. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Book Insight Friday, but it's also a lot of things that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So, today we're talking about what I am currently working on, right? So, a lot to share. So let's get started. For one, I have finished writing my 4 books for next year. And I will not be sharing what those topics will be yet. I'm not at that place yet. Maybe in a few weeks, I might share with you what's coming for my books next year. But my next 4 books for next year will be all standalone books because I have written 8 book series and only 7 standalone books. So I'm at a place now where my mind is thinking, okay, I need to write more standalone books so it kind of balances it out a little bit. So I have 4 standalone books coming next year. There are some really good ones. I have copies of 3 out of my 4 books because I had ordered them a few weeks ago while I was writing my last book for next year. So the last book I have to get a copy of. Plus, I was playing around with the book cover and I made like 2 different ones. I liked it, didn't love it. And then the light bulb went off and I found something on Canva and I ran with it. And then I started, obviously finagling things on Canva and trying to make it look where it's appealing, and then boom, I was good and I was happy, and then I got excited, and then I went all in writing this book, and man, a lot of it is past experiences. That's what I will say. I like to write stories about my life a little bit in books, and it's fun, and a lot of people don't catch on, but it's okay. So that's one element. The next element is I'm finally going to have time to get back into recording audiobooks. If you guys don't know by now, I do have audiobooks, and I have 5. Code Blue 1, 2, and 3, Struggles and Growth of a Man Part 1, and I Woke Up a Black Man. There are more coming. It's a process. It's easier for me to record podcasts because I have a good feel for what I want to say, what I want to discuss, things like that. And a lot of my podcasts are turning my blogs into audio content and then adding a little more oomph to it. If you don't know what oomph means, yeah, do your due diligence and research what oomph means. It means packing a little punch to it. The next thing is as far as audio goes, I am working with Apple on something big. I won't be able to fully announce that for a few weeks. I just started the process, so stand by on that. Hopefully I'll be able to announce it, give or take, I will say November or December. They say 6 weeks, but who knows? The next aspect of this is my podcast, right? What you're listening to right now. So September is going to be a good month. I'm going to be talking about dark, cloudy storms, the world changing every day and how we adjust. Do we know who we truly are? People want you to succeed, but ... I will be discussing a book that I read called Real American by Julie Lythcott-Haims. What an amazing book it was. I will be discussing that in mid-September. be discussing how success and greatness is a long road, how you owe yourself. I will also be discussing how I wrote Alphabet City 9, and at the end of September, I will hit 300 podcast episodes. September 29th, we'll make podcast number 300. That will be a special podcast episode, and there will be a lot of things that I will be talking about and dropping gems on. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'm currently watching a lot of Netflix documentaries because my mind is always chugging away with book ideas. I have about close to 60 different notes on book ideas. So there's your book insight of how much I think and process and have conversations with people in the world, and, you know, meeting people and listening and all kinds of different things. It's why I've become pretty consistent at what I do, because I'm watching and observing the world so much, and I am taking a lot of biases out of the mix by not watching, local news stations and outside news stations and all the jargon that's posted on the internet from all these different websites. So I will not be done at 60 books next year. The next goal will be to write 80 books. That's the next goal. Can I write 100? I probably could, but I don't want to put myself out there and say I want to write 100. I want to put myself out there and say, let's strive for 80. And then when I get to 80, I'll sit and assess and say, where am I and what's my focus and what do I want to do next? And then go from there. Another thing I'll be focused on is putting my blogs on medium.com. And I was on there a few years ago and didn't really get much from it. But then again, I wasn't consistent and I wasn't really writing the way I'm writing as far as my blogs go. No one knows who I really am. No one knows my website that much. I mean, I do get website visits, but not in the thousands or anything like that. So I will be shifting my blogs there, and I will be, having the podcast episodes at the end of the blog if they want to listen to, the audio version of it also. So there's a lot of things that I have going on, and the books are still going to keep coming. The Alphabet City series is currently my book series. It's a 12-book series. And if you guys have been listening to my podcast, obviously since the beginning of this year, every month I am publishing one book a month. And as we speak, I have published 8 out of the 12 books. So that's fun. That's exciting. I'm going to come out and say it very clearly. I am never writing a 12-book series ever again. It is not happening. So if you choose to get immersed into this Alphabet City series, beautiful, wonderful, thank you. But do not expect me to write a 12-book series ever again. It's just not happening. It's a lot. It takes a toll. And it's a lot of editing. I mean, don't get me wrong, my books aren't ridiculously long. Alphabet City, I think 4 or 5 is like my longest in the series, and I think it's like 120 pages. And it's only because it's like 2 characters. Matter of fact, it is Alphabet City 5. It's the Shamika Germain story, right? So yeah, it's 2 characters and it's a lot of chapters, and that was a lot of reading, proofreading, and editing. So to be brutally honest, yeah, 12-book series, not happening. even doing like 5-6 book series are a lot. And my books are between probably 50 to 70 pages, but when you have to proofread a full series after writing everything, it's a lot. I don't write a book and then edit it and then write the next book. No, because for me as a writer, I'm already in a zone. So after I've written one book, it's like, oh, on to the next book, on to the next book, on to the next one. So I'm on that Jay-Z song, On to the Next. If you've never heard that song literally correlates to how I write my books. It's on to the next, on to the next. That's how it goes. For those who listen to Jay-Z and have listened to the Blueprint 3 album, and that song, that literally is how I operate in my mind. So after I write a 6-book series, I've got to sit and I've got to edit every single book. And yeah, there goes that. So that's how I work. So that's pretty much what's going on with me and what I'm currently working on. So my question to you is what are you currently working on? What are your goals? What are you working towards? How are you going to achieve those goals, right? I want you to stay focused the way I am. And also, for good measure, I'm not watching sports this year. I'm not really going to be immersed in it. Now, I do live in Phoenix, and I will attend maybe a few Phoenix Suns games, but I'm not going crazy. For those who watch sports, the Phoenix Suns have 3 players that make $40 million or more, so you can only imagine how much tickets are going to be. Enough said. And I will most likely attend the Arizona Cardinals New York Giants game because I am a New York Giants fan at heart, and I do need to see Saquon Barkley play at some point. So as far as other stuff, I got to stay focused, and I do have books that I'm going to be reading also. So that's pretty much the gist of everything that's going on with me. And it's just a fun adventure. And this is the fun adventures of Jamel Crothers and all of the things that I work on a daily basis. And also be mindful, I go to the gym 4 to 5 days a week. I still go on my bike ride. I still play basketball. I still hang out with friends. I still talk to my mom 3 times a day. Yeah. It's always a lot going on with me, but I make use of all of the time in my days. And with that said, that's my podcast for today. I thank you guys for listening. As always, the aquarianmindpodcast.com is the podcast website. Please feel free to tell your friends, your family members, everybody that you know about this podcast. I would appreciate it greatly. And also, my books are everywhere except Amazon. And for good reason. I just read a recent article on The Verge about a lawsuit between authors and writers and content creators on Amazon's business practices. It's on theverge.com, actually. So, have a good weekend, everyone. Stay tuned. September has officially started. Be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.